to NCCU. This is AudioNet Channel 9. It's a special episode of Nisi Radio. It's Nisi the Beast, you already know. I got a special guest in the building. I got J. Cole with me right now. First signed artist to Rock Nation.
Yeah, man. Going
yeah.
on, dog.
So, how's it feel to be back in NC, man?
It's always a pleasure, man. It's always, like, I usually drive back, sometimes I'm used to just drive back even from college. But, I flew out like 6:05 this morning, landed like an hour later. It's a beautiful feeling, man. I go back to the Ville tomorrow, so.
That's cool, yeah. So, for those that don't know you and don't know your background, don't your story, how did you get started in this industry, really?
Man, I started rapping at 12, rapping for a few years, and I was just like, I noticed that I was like ahead of like, my peers that I was rapping with. I didn't notice it, but they was really noticing it more than I was noticing. So after a while, I just wanted to get some beats. Like I was tired of rapping over instrumentals, so I reached out to this local group, Bomb Shelter from Fayetteville, who was like doing it, in my eyes, the biggest at the time. He was making the best music. So I reached out to them, really just trying to get some beats. And I ended up taking me under their wing. Learned the ropes all about recording and writing songs and not just rapping, because back then I was just rapping. So I learned about, how to write a song, and at 15 I started making my own beats on the ASR, and since then I've just been, making my own music, man.
Okay. And everybody knows, you got signed by Jay-Z. It's a new label. So
yeah.
How did the Jay-Z thing work out? How did you get in contact with Jay-Z?
Man, it was like, I don't want nobody to think it was like some overnight thing. Because, if you hear somebody signing Jay-Z, it's like, oh man, he got lucky. Man, this is years and years of like trying to get my foot in the door and like not getting to nobody even listening. So basically, I went to New York for college just so I could be around the music industry or where I thought the music industry was. And from there, like, it took a few years to get like adjusted and networking wise, but I eventually met Mark Pitts, and Mark introduced me to Jay. And Jay heard a song I got called Lights Please, and from there, he wanted to set up the meeting. We set up the meeting, played about 6 more joints, and just chopped it up. And from there, he wanted to do the deal. So
yeah, actually, I heard from a couple like interviews you did on like other stations that actually the first time that Jay met you, he didn't really like you, or
not that he didn't like me. He didn't know me. Like he basically didn't. I was just a guy on the street who was trying to give him a CD basically, and he was just brushed me off basically. And it's understandable because at that time he was the president. Like you gotta understand, somebody like that is getting CDs or trying to, people trying to hand him CDs all the time. So it was just one of them situations where I was one of those people. But my story behind that was crazy. Like I was trying to get on his album, American Gangsta. I had made this beat. I had the whole story down in my head how it was gonna go. And I thought he was gonna, take my CD and listen to my beat and sign me or whatever. But it's just one of the funny stories, man, that you look back on, like, funny how things come full circle.
Okay. And so you have your mixtape out, the warm up now. So
yeah.
Talk about the process of making the warm up. Just explain it a little bit. The differences between the come up and the warm up.
Okay. Well, the come up was more like raw rapping, like in terms of like I was really focused on just proving that to everybody, like this is what I grew up doing, like rapping. There's a few songs on there, some good songs, but mostly it's like really focus on the rapping aspect of things. I think the warm up is more like song oriented and concepts and storytelling and things like that. So making the warm up, it didn't start out like that. It was gonna be just another like a lot of freestyles and more proving that I could rap. But as it evolved, I just wanted to do more songs and like really make it as close to an album as possible without really putting out an album. Yeah. So that's how that came about.
Yeah, and who were producers and engineers and things you worked with on that tape?
Yeah, I produced the majority of that. It was only 2 original joints I didn't produce. One of them was produced by my man Elite, and the other by this guy Science, who he did Jay-Z, Beyonce, Hollywood, but his rap stuff is really way better than that. So now he's a beast though. And the rest of it was produced by me. In terms of, I got my own engineer, his name is Mez. He's been holding me down for years, so he makes sure my sound is like, on point.
On point, okay. Yeah. And there's a lot of, a lot of people talking about the freshman class and like the artists that are out now that have, you know, come to notoriety. Think people like Kid Cudi, Drake, Wiz,
Yeah.
people like that. How do you feel like you relate?